I met you, I want to say, I think I met you in November. I don't know if you were currently at Ruby's, right?
It would have been November. I met you and Ruby about the same time, and that's
Okay.
about the time I got on this app. So
Oh, okay. All right. So
I met you guys within the first week or two of getting on the app. So
yeah, so all I know that I met you there. You've been an amazing supporter, and and then now you're doing your own live. So I kind of that's where I want to go with this. Basically, why you're on TikTok, the purpose of being on TikTok, the purpose of going live. If you could do a little intro, and then we could get started.
so, for those of you who don't know, my name's Cecil Gailey, and I've been on TikTok since about the 1st of November. I got on TikTok actually not for any noble reason, but to become an affiliate so I could sell stuff on the TikTok shop. And and I'm doing that. I'm starting that journey. I got qualified to do that. But in the meantime, I discovered this great family, this great platform that allowed me to further my recovery and for me to share parts of my life and try to help other people, which is what I do on a day-to-day basis anyway. I currently work in the mental health field as what's called a certified peer specialist, which just means I use my lived experience with mental illness to help others. Uh, so so the whole journey, it's a little bit for me. There's a little bit of a tug one way and the other because I still want to do the TikTok shop. I still want to be an affiliate, but I don't want to give up the rest of my stuff that I've come to enjoy. So it's a really delicate balancing act at this point
Yeah.
because I don't want to go all just shop content. So I've been trying to balance that, and luckily right now I'm only allowed to post 5 videos and I have unlimited lives, but I have yet to do any shop lives. I'm gonna start doing them, but um, I just want to be able to help people and educate people that we all struggle. You don't have to have a big full blown diagnosis like I have. For those of you, probably most of you probably do not know that I have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, which is that's a devastating diagnosis to get. But the diagnosis was actually a relief because I could put a name to what was going on. But I spent quite a few years in active psychosis, which just means I believe things that aren't true about the world and about things going on around me. I heard voices, I saw things. It took me down to the point I couldn't work. Uh, this is a little discombobulated the way I'm explaining this, but
Good time. This is
I,
you. This is
yeah,
yours.
I've had addiction issues my whole life, and because of my addiction issues, it triggered the schizophrenia. And when I quit using, it didn't go away. So
So, question for you. All right, for those of us that or for I don't know if anybody in the chat, right? The schizophrenia was that a result of the addiction, or were you born like that? Like, how did you develop that?
it was actually a result of my addiction.
Okay,
So
okay, now I
I've
understand.
had it explained to me. There's some history in my family of mental illness along those lines, but I had never exhibited any. I didn't have any symptoms until my addiction got to a point where it was totally out of control, and I you know I'm not going to go into what I was addicted to. I just uh, it wasn't good for me, and I was using it on a daily basis, and my life had become totally out of control. And then little slowly but surely, I started hearing things, and I started seeing things, and I started thinking things that people were after me, and that God was talking to me. Well, I couldn't figure out why He was talking to me, but uh, you know, um, and it was a slow road downhill until that became my whole life. And with that, I had a business. I had a construction business. I had employees.
Oh
Uh,
wow! At the
I,
time that this was occurring, you had a business and everything.
this at the beginning of it. I still owned a business and had employees. And throughout this, I ended up losing my business.
Oh
Uh,
wow!
I ended up losing my house, my cars. I bet I literally am the poster child for you can how much you can lose. I lost it, and then some because I lost my mind. I didn't have the ability. I didn't have the ability to work anymore. I didn't have the ability to do anything except spend
Wow!
my days pretty lonely most of my days because also along those lines I lost everybody but my core group, my wife, my daughter, my son. They stuck by me, and it was tough. It was real tough for them to stick by me because I was just if you haven't been there and you don't know what schizophrenia is, it's really hard to be around a person with schizophrenia day in day out because I was aggressive towards them. I was off the wall. I was paranoid. I would accuse them of doing things that they didn't even know what I was talking about.
Oh
You
wow!
know,
How
uh,
long was this going? Like, how long were you in?
that went on. Believe it or not, that went on for about 3.5, 4 years before I actually got treatment.
Wow!
Uh, I tried to continue to using my addiction, but I eventually couldn't use. I couldn't use it. On my live, I'll tell people I'll have 20 years clean in July from my addiction, but
20 years?
20 years. So
Wow, that's worth celebrating for a real. 20 years is strong. That is
20
strong.
years. And actually, I quit using quite a long time before that because I couldn't use. But when I give my sobriety date, I use the actual last time I used any substance. And I had a couple of beers in 2005 in July. I don't remember when, but um, I I in a lot of ways, and I don't know, a lot of I don't know who all believes in a higher power, but I do.
Okay.
And I kind of believe that my higher power just put it. He finally said, "You know what? You want to continue to use? I'm gonna make it so you can't." And absolutely, with my mental illness, I couldn't use anymore. It just affected me so severely that I couldn't. But with that, it also took me down to being homeless, living on the streets,
So,
spending most of my days alone. So.
so was there a point, because you do mention being homeless, was there a point when your family gave up on the situation on you, or?
I don't think they ever actually gave up. They became pretty hopeless. That they always had that glimmer of hope that something would happen, and something did happen. Um, eventually, I got arrested, and when I got arrested, I assault. Just so people will know, I actually assaulted my wife on my birthday. Um, um, I'm not proud of that. I w- it's not who I am, but with my psychosis, and it's no excuse because I could have got treatment, but I wouldn't get treatment. So I always look at it like that. I own it. I did that. Anyway, long story short, I got arrested, and they when they got me to the jail, it didn't take them too long to figure out. I didn't even understand the charges against me. I couldn't understand why I was in jail, what was going on. I didn't understand. And the state I'm from, there's no insanity defense there, but what they will do is they sent me to the state psychiatric hospital to restore me to competency so I could stand trial. Um, I was real lucky. So there was a brand new program in the state of Idaho called the Mental Health Court Program. It's a diversionary court. It diverts you from going to prison to a treatment program. And I got lucky and I got into that program. And that program saved my life because through that program, I got counseling. I started taking medications. Uh, I slowly started rebuilding my life. I actually really started rebuilding my construction company. Um, but at one point,
Awesome. That's awesome.
at one point, I rebuilding it. There was no joy in that anymore. I mean, the first time I built that company, it was exciting. It was joyful. But the second time, there was no joy in it. I didn't have any sense of accomplishment, no sense of anything. I just knew that I wanted to be able to help other people. And God puts things in our path, and lo and behold, I went to court to after I'd graduated the program. A year later, I went to court to get the charges dropped, and they dropped the charges. But while I was in court, I met someone that was helping other people, and they told me about this little program for peers helping peers, and they offered me like a little 2 day training, And I remember going and telling my brother. He says, "Hey, I'm going to take a couple of days off. I'm going to drive up to Boise, which is a couple hours away, and I'm going to do this training." He says, "Well, why would you do that, man?" He says, "You make a ton of money doing construction." I says, "Well, I just want to do this. And long story short of it, after 15 years later, I've been working as a peer for 15 years and haven't been in the construction business for the last 12 years.
That's your calling.
It's a calling, and it's been my life is way more rewarding now than it was before. So things happen for a reason. It wasn't fun to go through all that, but my life is so full now. So full. And don't get me wrong. I have tough days like anybody else. I have things that happen in my life. Um, Loss of people and things and health things that happen and all the things that happen to everybody. But I deal with them, and I don't deal with them through through addiction. I deal with them. I deal with them by having a good, strong core group of people around me. My wife and my youngest daughter and my son and daughter, um, are great supporters and great sounding boards. Offer sage advice. Just good people.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I was explaining. I probably even explained it on one of Ruby's lives. We have the leave people that come into our life for a season. And then we have the branch people that they're there for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then we have those root people. you know, and I have those root people, and my root people are literally three people, but they're strong, and I'm just talking away here, so I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no, no. The forum is yours for sure. I was gonna, to your point, say, usually the people that are rooted is a very smaller circle than the people that are, like my husband says, there's acquaintances and then there's real true friends, because not
Mm,
everyone has the best interest in you. And usually, when times are tough, Cecil, maybe you could recollect who was there for you,
yeah,
right? Because
and,
everybody could be there for you when you're all, fine and dandy, but it's in the
there
time that you are down, that's when you know who really is your friend, right?
and my three people, my son, my daughter, and my wife, those were the people that stuck there through thick and thin, and it was tough for them. There were times they wanted to give up.
You could imagine.
You know, I there was a group of kids. I call them kids, but young adults, say 17, 18, 19 years old, that actually helped me help us get off the street. They gave us a place to stay while my wife worked and saved enough money for us to rent a house. And I've always held a special place in my heart because I had all these well-to-do friends. I mean, supposedly well-to-do, well-established friends in business and stuff,
Right.
and they all abandoned me and my wife. It wasn't me that I was worried about, but they also abandoned my wife. People that supposedly were close friends of ours that wouldn't give her the time of day because of what happened with me. You know, uh, they blamed it on the addiction, which was true, but she had nothing to do with that. And I used to carry a lot of animosity in my heart for that, but I don't have room for that anymore. But and in the same sense, I don't have. They're not in my life either. They
Yeah.
can live.
I mean,
They can live their life.
life is too short to hold a grudge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I did for a while. I did. I did. I'm human. I held a grudge. My best friend, and I had a best friend. I started out with a best friend when all this started out. Uh, I held a grudge against him for a long time. I don't hold any animosity towards him anymore, but I don't have a relationship with him.
right.
I don't wish him any ill, but
Right.
at we did everything. We golfed together, we barbecued together, we spent a lot of time together. And when the going got tough, he got to going. So
That's what I was gonna say. That's when you know that that friend was really not a friend. It was just it's just like you said, one of those friends that are just for a season. Uh,
yeah.
I have a question, but also junk food junkie. Question from junk food junkie is Liz. Ask him, has his church played a big part to where he is now, besides his family?
So I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I do not go to church. I'm a very spiritual person.
Okay, you don't have to be embarrassed. Not everybody
Yeah.
has,
Well,
we
I
all
mean,
have our
sometimes
people.
I know that's some people's path. It's never been my path. Um, I
Okay.
I organized religion for me just has always kind of turned me off. I believe in a higher power. I believe there's things we do not understand. I absolutely believe in the power of prayer. Um, but so no, my church. I don't have a church. I have the church of me. So I mean, and
Yeah.
and my spirituality. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's different to me. I'm obviously I was born and raised Catholic, so I was brought into that religion and all that, and I
Mhm.
used to go to church every Sunday religiously. And then as I got into an adult, because that's what I learned as a child, when you get to be an adult, then you realize, then you make your own choice. I am believe in God. I do believe in. I don't want to talk about religion, but just to preface here what you're saying. But have I stepped into a church? Years, years. Why? Because the
Yeah.
last church that I stepped into, the priest stole $25,000.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't go to church. And if I'm going to go to hell, I'm going to say it here. If I go to hell because I'm not going to church, then so be it. But
Yeah.
I believe there is a higher power.
Yeah.
But church is not the place. I mean, God is everywhere. Let's put it that
Well,
way.
and
God is
and,
there
and,
with you. God is
and,
there here with me.
and I don't want to discount that because churches can be a great support for people.
Yeah.
That can be a person's core
Yeah.
group, and I have friends that so you guys probably back on the East Coast. I don't know, but the LDS faith is really big where I'm from, and I have a couple of friends that are actually pretty high up in that church, and they are great people. Um, and
Yeah.
and and they really rely on that. And I'm sure I could. They ask me they don't force me, but they ask me all the time if I would like to come, and I
Right.
politely decline. But
There's a difference. Like, so I respect everyone and welcome in Chunky and thank you for the heart me. I respect everyone as long as you respect me, right? So
Yeah,
you don't try to change my beliefs. If you want to do you, if that's what you, right? But as long as you're not interfering with what I believe, we're good. We can live in the same world.
yeah.
You live in that world, and I live in this world. We don't have to agree on religion. We can agree on anything else, and if whatever. But I don't want to focus on that. I did want to ask you, when did you hit rock bottom? When did you realize that you had enough, that enough was enough, and that you needed to bounce back? Because I know that a lot of people that go through addiction, they have multiple setbacks. So, when you think you're like, I'm gonna do it, but then you have a setback, and you've
Yeah.
been now at this path, clean, sober for 20 years. So, what was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak?
So, so literally getting schizophrenia was the straw that broke the camel's back. And the day I was arrested, it all came crashing down. You know, I'm I'm very resilient, and that's not always served me because I'm resilient to the point I'll stick with a bad thing too.
Yeah.
I used to like I'll stick it out, man. I'll keep trying. And with my addiction, that I was in constant state. I would try to quit, and then I would go out and use, and I would try to quit, and I would go out and use. And I literally did that hundreds of times throughout my life. I've always known, and people I don't know that I've always known, but people have always told me that I had a problem with, especially with alcohol, and then the other things became a problem. But did I believe them? No. I just wanted to be a normal person. I wanted to be able, when I went to the golf course, I wanted to be able to have, drink with my buddies and
Yeah.
do those things. And I wanted to be normal, but I was never normal.
Find and so let me ask you, because I didn't ask you, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just because I wanted you to, and if you're okay with mentioning what, carefully, I guess, which substances, like was alcohol a part of that?
Alcohol. Everything started with alcohol,
Okay.
and then I graduated to the go fast stuff.
Okay.
Um,
And the
uh,
reason why I ask is because I know alcohol is probably, and I don't know because I obviously don't have
yeah,
that issue, but my dad is an alcoholic.
yeah,
So I think that's one of probably the hardest ones because of the fact that everything you do a celebration, you go to a wedding, what do? Celebrate with
my,
champagne. Birthday, you're watching a game, crack the beer. I mean,
my, my
everything
whole life, my
all
whole life.
revolving around alcohol. So that must be really hard for you to
Yeah,
be around alcohol and
yeah. I can be around it now. Both my son and daughter will have the occasional drink, and so will my wife. Occasionally, will have a drink, but they're not alcoholics. In fact, my wife will have a drink, she'll leave half of it on the table, and I'm like, why are you leaving half of it? I would have drank that and five more. You know, I,
Well, and let me ask you, because like my dad doesn't admit it. Like my dad is
yeah.
at a point where he has cirrhosis of the liver, and he said that he's gonna take his whole entire Social Security check, go to Dominican Republic, and drink it all away. So
Oh
he's in
well,
denial. He's in denial. He won't
yeah.
admit it. He doesn't have. So how did you like? I'm just trying to, because obviously it hits home when you talk about this. How did you? Because a lot of them are in denial. So how did you say, you know what, I do have a problem with drinking? Like,
Um,
what made you
so,
think that?
so I really didn't have my aha moment until after all this happened, and I was in treatment in the mental health court program, and I was doing something called what was the name of it? I can't remember the name of it, but there was a certain treatment module they were doing, and it was we had to do a reflective exercise, and I remember having an aha moment and going, "Damn, I am an addict. I am an alcoholic." But I don't know that up until that point I actually ever believed it because I never looked at how it affected my whole life. It's affected my life. Alcohol and addiction has been a part of my life since the day I was born. I was born to parents. Both my parents were alcoholics, and my dad had an addiction issue later in life, and so I didn't I kind of like you were saying, everything revolved around it. If we went for a Sunday drive, my dad would have partaken, have his barley pop sitting between his legs, drinking and driving, and doing those things. And that's what I grew up seeing. I grew up that we didn't do anything without that.
Yeah.
If you had a birthday party, a barbecue, you went fishing, it didn't matter. That was always there, and it was available to me at a young age. I don't remember. I was so young the first time I had alcohol. I mean, that was just always around. I remember as a young teenager, 13 and 14, I was Mr. Popular because my dad would buy it for us, and my friends would come over to the house, and he'd say, as long as you don't go anywhere. And so, like every weekend, I have a whole group of friends wanting to hang out at Cecil's house because
Yeah.
this stuff's readily available. I
Right.
can't, I cannot imagine doing that with my
Oh,
grandkids,
absolutely not.
or
I don't know if it was the older generation, it's a cultural thing, but my dad tells me the story. At 9 years old, his father was giving him already beers and stuff to drink.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And that's it. That's I grew up that way.
As a
So
matter of fact, I have a picture. I'm ashamed to say it. As a child at a party, literally, I'm probably 9 years old, and here I am with a like this with a hat
yeah,
with a Heineken. Like
yeah,
that picture, though, I want to destroy it. I'm like,
yeah.
why was I doing that at the age of 9? Did I think that was cool? Like
Because that's what you knew. Because that's what you knew,
that's what
Liz.
I was exposed to, and I know that that's also hereditary. And I have an addictive personality. And I'll be honest, Cecil, do I drink? Yes, but I'm so scared of because I don't know if there's a fine line. So my husband will say, you know, he doesn't use the word alcoholic, so he'll say he's an alcohol abuser.
Oh,
Meaning that
okay,
he can drink, but he knows when to stop. He could,
okay.
because what my dad does is, and I don't know if you ever did this. When he had an appointment to see the doctor, he will be sobered up. Like 3 weeks, he will quit
Oh,
cold turkey because he did not want that to show up in the blood. You know what I mean?
oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever did that, so I'm just curious.
No, I'm more in your face. I don't give a crap what you think about me. I'll tell you how it's going to be, and if I a little more in your face, not worried about what other people are going to think because I thought I was right. So, um,
Yeah.
I the
Some
other thing
people
I
in the
really
comments,
work.
just so you know, here we go. There's a couple people that really, I don't know if he's still here. Flinger06 says, I love hearing you speak, Cecil. Mary Colong, it seemed normal, just a part of life. And then Chunky comes in saying, my dad was an alcoholic and still works on it this day, but he severed our relationship. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, and then Mary Colong, my dad would go to the doctor after a few beers. He didn't care what they thought. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't care. I mean, I I remember at 17 years of age going to the doctor and asking for a medication that would they could give me that I wouldn't be able to drink on, and I took it for a few months. So I wasn't. It didn't bother me, and I tried. I did try, and I think that's probably what led me to other things because sometimes I would try and I would just replace it. I would replace the alcohol with other things, and
Yeah.
I tried the replacement therapy for a good 10 or 15 years, and and it led me down many dark paths. So
Yeah. I mean, I could only imagine you had a lot of dark days, but let's bring to the positive light because you are here on TikTok and you are making a difference. I catch you live when I'm awake because I'll be admit your
yeah,
lives are late at night.
anyway,
But I want to ask you, you on TikTok is your purpose now? I know you said that when you started TikTok, you started first going to Ruby's room and then you wanted to do the TikTok shop, but I feel like it's shifted. And I don't know if that's where you're going, where you're now you have a purpose. And I want you to talk about that purpose.
I do have a purpose, but it's twofold. I still want to do the TikTok shop and want to be successful at that. I absolutely do, and that's just part of my drive, my natural drive to be successful at that, and to make and to monetize and make some money. But I really want to. Uh, I want to be able to help people. I'm looking at maybe I haven't thought. I've been toying with the idea of rebranding myself a little bit as far as just changing my name on here. But it worries me that people won't know who I am then because I've always been
Well,
about,
don't
always been
ask
about,
me. I'm the worst
yeah,
person you want to ask because I've had like 7 different names within the year. So I
yeah,
am the
yeah,
last person you want to
yeah,
ask about that kind of
yeah,
thing. Oh my God. You know what, Cecil, you do what comes out of here.
yeah,
I will follow you whether your name is Cecil, whether you change your name to Chicken Feet. I don't know, whatever you
yeah,
want to change your name to.
yeah,
I love the person that you are, and I look beyond that, and I think what you're doing is amazing,
yeah.
and
Well,
you
thank
are
you.
impacting a lot of as the junkie says to ask ChatGPT. I think what you're doing is really very empowering, because there's a lot of people here who need to hear you, who need to hear what you're saying.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and sometimes I wish the old TikTok would want to hear me one more. But I struggle like anybody else. So, yeah, I'll put something out, and I'll think it's really good, and I'll look at my views and go, "Geez, I didn't get any views." But I'm learning to put. That's one thing I've really kind of enjoyed learning to put content together. That's been fun, and it's anytime I'm learning something new, I've always been a person that enjoyed learning to do something new. So the editing piece and the tips I've got from Ruby early on about some things that I was doing, and tips I get from I don't know if you ride with Dad. I'm part of his agency now, and I've been
Yeah,
getting.
that's his goal. Yeah, Ruby's in the
I've been
same
getting
agency, right?
actually, yeah, and I I get a lot of good tips from him and a good support from him about just different things you can do to put content together. And that's all with the idea of reaching more people, affecting one
Yeah.
person. I do got to say this, Sean. It's the same reason when I started doing the job I do, my 9 to 5 job. I told myself if I could change one person's life, then it's worth it. I don't have to change
Absolutely.
everybody's life. If I help one person on here and help change their life or change the direction or just give them comfort for that day, it's worth it. So,
Absolutely. Junk Food Junkie says, Cecil, I know this firsthand. It's one day at a time. I'm 12 years sober.
so congratulations, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And it is one day at a time. I just happened to have strung together 20 years. But you know what? I could go out tomorrow, and guess what? My whole thing would fall apart. I know that if I use, my life falls apart. And I give this advice on my life, and I have for the last couple lives, is if I could give one thing to people, is if you're trying to stay clean, and you're thinking about going out and using, play the tape forward and don't just play it forward for like, oh, I'm going to have a good time and stuff. Play the tape forward. What are the consequences? How's this going to affect my life? What's the real consequences? Not the romanticized things we get in our head, the lies we tell ourselves, but play that tape forward. And that keeps me clean. It really does keep me clean because
That's
I
awesome.
know I know
Smart.
when I play that tape forward, I know it's a disaster if I ever use again.
Right. Because some people will think of the moment, but you're thinking of consequences of that joy that you're feeling for that. Because and I don't know why you started doing it, and I don't want to know if you want to share why you started doing it, but what I can think of it before I say that, Flinger, sorry, Flinger oh 06 says, I have 1 year and 7 months sober, so congratulations on that as well.
Flinger's amazing. She's great support. She comes
Oh,
to my
she,
life.
she, she.
She supports my life. So she's a great person. So and
I
she's
just want to say that some people go reach out to whatever insert whatever their vice is. For you, obviously, was the alcohol. I have an addiction that I am trying to kick. Rush fan knows what it is. And I've not as long as you, but it's only been 10, like less than 2 weeks.
okay.
And so I'm not, I'll talk about it when it's too soon. So I can't say that I've kicked the addiction yet.
Yeah,
So it's not a addiction that I'm doing to my body or anything. It's another type of addiction that could really be a very slippery slope.
yeah,
So, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that usually people seek because there's a void, and or there's something that they want to numb. There's a problem that they maybe want to just and while you're in it, you're feeling happy for that moment, and I think that's where you're going with this, that you're not looking at that moment, you're looking at what happens the aftermath of that moment.
yeah. I mean, people ask me, and I've done a lot of soul searching on why. I don't know that I know exactly why, except that it's generational in my family. It's not just it wasn't just my parents, but my grandparents and their parents. So it's generational alcoholism and addiction. And so I don't know when it's so ingrained in you that there's a reason why. It's just what it is. Uh, I don't. I've never been a person that thought I did it to numb the pain from something else, or I mean, I guess there's been times when I've used it as a crutch, because I don't have to feel things emotionally.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been one of the big learning things too is when things happen, I can't do that immediate fix of numbing it emotionally. I mean, and then it's always worse the next day or a few days later. Whatever the issue was, you not only do you have the issue still, then you have the issue of you went back out, you relapsed, you did all that, and you know what? I think in a lot of ways I just got tired of being sick and sorry, and like I said, my higher power finally put enough stuff in my path that good old Cecil just couldn't use with impunity anymore. I just couldn't do it, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful every day for my higher power, and that's the fact that I found recovery, and that my wife does not have to go through that anymore.
Amen. Thank
Uh,
you.
my kids too, but my wife has stuck through me with thick and thin,
Yeah.
and it has made her life a living. I don't even know if I can use that word on here, but anyway,
I know exactly where you're coming from, because the addiction is not only affecting you, the person that's actually,
it
it's
affects the
affecting
whole.
everybody around you that you
Yeah,
love, right?
yeah, and that's a little plug. So eventually I'm going to have my son or my daughter on my live to give their perspective of the family perspective because I don't think that gets shared a lot of times.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful idea, actually. That is a wonderful idea, because we only hear, usually, most of the time, we hear about the actual person, when,
Yeah,
their journey, when the recovery, but we don't hear about the other people that are living in that situation as well.
yeah,
That
and
would be great.
I remember them asking when I first ended up in the mental health court program. My wife made the statement, and it was profound. She says, "Well, what is there for us?" And there wasn't anything. There's no program at that time. There was really no program for them. There's some stuff out there we've discovered since then. Some stuff that um, people can do and get support if they're dealing with people with mental illness and stuff, and they have family members struggling, that they can get support. But my family didn't know about that, and all they could see was, look, people are offering me help, but they had all this trauma from dealing with me, and it's been a long journey for them too, And I still think it affects their lives still, I make a point if I go to the store and I'm gonna be a little bit late, I get on the phone, I call. Because there's always that in the back of their head, did he go back out? Is this the day he decided to relapse? So I'm just real uh, cognitive of the fact that that's there, and I try to ease some of that by just being a good support and
Absolutely.
being in close
Absolutely.
contact with people. So
So I haven't been to many of your lives, but the lives that I've been to, what I've noticed is you focus on talking about your journey. And I don't know if that's the type of channel that you're now. I know that you're doing the TikTok shop, but I don't know if the channel, like the I guess the topic, right? So, when you go live, the topic that you talk about is, right, your journey.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. The
right.
TikTok shop will be separate. I'll gonna try to keep that separate, but I
Mhm.
don't have two different accounts because I only qualified on one account.
Yeah.
My lives I'm doing now right now are just based on mental health, and and also on addiction. I talk about addiction.
Right.
I try to stick to the mental health part of it, but addiction is always going to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was the first thing in my life, and but they're both so intertwined for me,
Yeah.
and I don't and sometimes I don't see it. There's some rooms on here that I've come across for mental health, but not like there is for addiction. There's not as many support rooms, so I'm trying to build it from
Be
that
nice
angle.
if you build one, which I think that's what you're aiming
Yeah,
for, and
I'm
I think you
attempting to
would
do.
do it. You definitely have. I mean, you have a lot of us that will definitely support you. You have the whole Ruby tribe. You have
Yeah,
my people. Now you have Tony, the former NFL player.
yeah,
That he goes to your live as well. You have the other one. I forgot his name. Jojo, I think it's called. Not
yeah, Joey.
that one. I get them confused.
Yeah,
So you have a lot of good people
I have
around,
I have a lot of good
good
support.
support, and that's what I love about this community. That we definitely support each other. So I wanted to ask you, when you do your lives, what message and what exactly is what you want people to walk away with? Thank you so much for the gifts.
If,
What?
if if they could walk away with one thing, I think it would be hope. Um, that hope that they can change their life if they want to, and someone out there, whether they have lost the support of everybody in their life, there can be support on this platform. There can be people that believe in you, that will lift you up, and I think if I could accomplish that, and uh, if I can accomplish that, I've pretty much accomplished my goal of the whole reason for doing a live. So.
Absolutely. Junk food junkie comes in. Cecil, what is your favorite saying or quote that keeps you going each day? That's an awesome question. Thanks for asking that.
It's an awesome question. I don't know if I have an awesome answer.
Well, something keeps you going, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, there's something. Do we always have our little voices talking to ourselves? And I'm sure that there are some times, and I don't know. I'm
there,
not in your. I'm not in your
there's,
brain, but I'm
there's
sure there's
another,
sometimes there's a little bad voice. There's the little angel, like the cartoon, the bad angel. The bad angel, just one.
there's,
You can do it.
there's another guy on here named Damon who has a live called Recovered Life, and he has a saying, and I really do kind of like it. But once a pickle, always a pickle. And I don't know. There's some theory out there that that's not necessarily true either, but and it's a euphemism for, like, once you're an alcoholic, usually there isn't any going back. You can go out and attempt to try to do that again, but there hasn't been too many successful people in trying to um, reestablish normal drinking. There are some stories of people that have been able to do that. Um, and so I don't want to say anything's ever 100%, but I kind of embraced that here lately a little bit. Once a pickle, always a pickle. There's a lot of good quotes,
Yeah.
um, um, but I don't know. It's kind of a funny one, but I even made a sticker up. I used it on a post here a while back. So
Uh-huh. Like a constant reminder.
yeah, yeah,
Flinger says, "Act right till I feel right" is one that helped me a lot in the beginning. So act right till I feel right.
yeah. And that's actually a great quote. So fake it till you make it. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so and that it's kind of like act right till you feel right. Fake it till you make it. Just go through the motions. You know, whether you believe it or not, put one foot in front of the other and see how it works out for you. You know. So
Yeah. Junk food junkie. Mine comes from Santa Claus is coming to town, one foot in front of the other.
yeah.
um, so I guess at this point, what keeps you strong in the days that feel heavy? Because I'm sure there are days, because whoever tells me that has a perfect life is just lying. Everybody
Yeah.
has stuff going on behind the scenes. So what keeps you from saying enough? I'm just going to go and grab myself a beer or something, whatever, insert what it is.
Knowing at the end of the day, my knowing 100% in my heart that my wife has my back, regardless of what happens. Um, and I preface that because I guess I know that as long as I'm doing the right thing, she has my back. I don't know that I don't think she has another relapse in her. You know, she probably does, but I don't want to test that water. But knowing that I can go to her at the end of the day with anything that I might be struggling with, um, helps me through. This helps me through a lot of things. Um, and I have things that are going on. I have things that are going on right now with my employment. I the funding for the within the state I'm in may run out on the job I'm doing. And as of next July, we don't know that we'll have funding for doing the work I'm doing anymore.
Oh, wow. Do you have
So,
a plan? Like
so,
that?
so you know, I've come up with an alternative plan. You know, I'm of retirement age as of next July. I can retire, and I'll probably retire and find some side hustle and continue to work in the recovery community. But
I can
you know,
help you with the side hustle.
yeah,
That's the name right there.
yeah, I know.
you know.
So
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about that too, because I don't want to only, there's more than just Cecil in this. I know that this is the main focus of your journey, but
yeah,
obviously I want you to also plug in there your TikTok shop. But a couple of more questions, right? So, the community, what role does the community play online in your sobriety?
probably a bigger role than I thought they would in the beginning. Um, I didn't realize I didn't realize I was lacking in my recovery community because I work so closely with people. I thought I had everything I needed, and when I got on here and I started hanging out in a couple people's rooms and doing that, it actually brought a lot to my heart. Just being able to support other people, be supported by other people.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's kind of been surprising for me. That's just been real surprising. I love this community. So I love you guys. I love the fact that I'll go into people's rooms that have nothing to do with addiction, and there's almost always somebody in there that's got some clean time or is on that journey. They aren't always talking about it, but
Right.
once in a while it'll come up, and I'll think, oh look, and now he's just so out of recovery strong, or you just acknowledgement that hey, yes, I see you, you know. So
Look who
thank you.
joined us. Jomo. Oh my God, what are these?
Oh, look at
What are
that.
these? Oh my God, thank you so much. I did see Jomo's name flash.
Oh,
Jomo,
okay.
did you just join my live, or was this one of these accident?
He
Well,
might have just been flipping through.
he probably was flipping. Oh no, he did! Oh my
He
God,
did.
he
Hi,
did!
hey, what's up, Joey?
Welcome.
Good
Nice
seeing
to
you, man.
meet you. So, Jomo, just so you know, real quick, and I obviously I'm not stealing your thunder, because if we go over the hour, which we will, unless you have Do you have, first of all, let me ask, do you have a hard set time that I need to
I,
come
I
by?
have to be, I have to be off by 10:30 at the latest.
Which is what time for me? Are
Oh,
you
so that would be I have to be off in the next 30 minutes.
okay? We'll do it. So just so you know, Jomo, let me just real quick say here, I have the privilege of interviewing Cecil. I do this every Wednesday. I interview a content creator, and of course, Cecil and I met about 7, 8 months ago, and he's just an amazing person. So I definitely wanted him to definitely share his experience, on TikTok, his life journey, his recovery road to recovery, and that's why I have him here. So didn't mean to interrupt it, but I just wanted because this is the first time he comes to my life, so he probably doesn't know what we're doing. um,
Welcome in, Joey. I appreciate you coming in, man.
what? So how do you handle triggers? I'm sure there's people that go into your live negativity, especially during live comments, trolls. How do you handle that?
You know, so the lives I started out a couple months ago. I started out trying to do lives, and I was not having a good time. I wasn't handling people that would come into the room and be negative or make some just off the wall comment,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't know, something changed about week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I started going live again every night, and I found that I just let it roll. I just kind of let it roll off my back. That block and mute button, they're there, and I don't have to. I don't necessarily block. I don't necessarily block someone. I may mute them first, or
Yeah.
I or I'll give them a chance to come around depending on what they said. I'm not against having a debate or having a difference of opinion, but I'm not going to tolerate ignorance, or some of the stuff you see people say on here. I just get rid of that real quick, and
Absolutely.
and you ask about triggers. So I I can get triggered a little bit. I just as an example. So a couple nights ago, a friend of mine came on that I know from here, but he's actually from the same area I'm from. He recently moved back to Minnesota, but he had his nephew unalived himself, and he came into my life and told me that, and I offered as much comfort as I could, and support, and I just went ahead and into my life because at that point, talking about throwing a gift or a heart me, and that just seems silly, you know.
Right.
It just made me realize there's more important things in life, and a young man had just
Yeah.
unalived himself. So,
No, of course. I mean, if this man
and it
came.
was a little triggering. My wife got up because she was sleeping lightly that night, and she had heard, and she gave me some support, and we talked about it for a little bit. And
That's tough.
I reached out to him just to try to make sure he was okay, and so I can get triggered. There's things that can trigger me. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I can get triggered on the addiction stuff. A hot summer day, there are times substances, especially alcohol, I can get triggered, and I just have to play that tape forward. It's not gonna that one moment of weakness is gonna destroy everything I built, and I just don't go there.
Right.
And it's as simple as that for me, but it's not that simple for everybody,
Right.
especially when you're young in
That's
recovery.
that's actually what I was going to ask you next. What's one thing that people you wish people understood about addiction recovery? Because I know that the road is not a linear road, right? There's probably going to be some,
Oh yeah, it's not linear. It's
not
never
linear.
linear.
Right. Welcome
And
in.
there's a couple things on this point. So it's not linear. You may take a step forward, and you may take 2 steps back. You may take 3 steps forward and take 1 step back. I think the thing to know is that it's constantly changing, and there are many paths. You don't have to. I don't know if you guys can hear my grandson screaming in the background.
It doesn't bother me. I don't think it bothers anyone. He's a
Uh,
child, so, and I totally
yeah.
understand. So I'm okay.
Uh, Anyway, it's not linear, but there's many paths. He doesn't have to. He doesn't necessarily have to. There's certain people. There are people that have got clean through the 12-step programs. There are
Yeah,
people that have done it through the MAT program. Different. That there's so many different paths. It's almost as an individual. And the way I got clean is different than the way maybe someone else will get clean. But I think the support is a constant. Being there to support somebody. Joey will tell you, and I think he's still in here, is it
he's
just
here. He's here.
unconditional support. You know, unconditional support. If you can support somebody unconditionally and love them through it, and give them a chance. Give them a chance to make amends or change their life or just be there for them because
I
we're
love
all
that.
human.
I
We're all
absolutely
human.
love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Liz, that isn't straightforward, but to be honest, the sobriety journey has so many twists and turns. I could only imagine, like I said, I mean, I'm going through a journey myself, but it's totally a different journey. And it's hard. It's hard to just say, oh, I'm never going to do that again. It's just, it's hard. It's not an easy journey, let me tell you. And I know that, I don't want to compare because it's apples to oranges. It's a
Well,
totally different.
any addiction's not hard.
I'm going to
Changing.
say it out here. I have a gambling addiction. I have a gambling
Okay.
addiction. So,
Well, that's a hard addiction.
yeah, it's a
That's
freaking hard addiction, and I have it. And I'm not, I didn't want to talk about it yet because I haven't touched it for 2 weeks. So I don't feel that I'm recovered by no means. I could
I've been
easily
there.
go back to that, but
I've
I
been there
haven't.
and struggled with that too, Liz. I mean, I literally live 40 miles from the Nevada border, so it's been a struggle for me at times in my life. Thank you for being brave and talking about
I
that.
didn't want to take your spotlight though, so I was
No, I
trying to
don't.
hold back.
Don't
I was
worry
trying to
about
hold
my
back.
spotlight. Don't worry about my spotlight. I mean, we're here to support each other. Um, and I'll support you in any way I can, whether that's just through hope and sharing my own story of having that addiction. That addiction literally has cost me thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars and my soul at times. So I know that addiction's real. That struggle's real. It's no different than my struggle. So
Really
uh,
not. Actually, and again, like I said, I'm just gonna bypass this. I'm just gonna say this, and that's it, and we'll move on because I don't really want to put the focus on that. But TikTok has helped me a lot to not go there. TikTok has
okay,
really helped me a lot. But there's days where I hit, I'm like, it pulls me back, you know. But anyway, I don't want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on that because it's not about me now. Um, so, what would you say to someone who's watching you in silence? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching you in silence, and they're not ready to tell you, "Listen, I have a problem too." So, what would you say to those people that are listening? Because I'm sure there's people out there, people here that are not ready to say it. What would you say to those people?
keep hanging out, keep coming back, man. I know and I don't have any idea, but I've been looking after my lives to see who's in the room. And there are people that literally I had no idea they're in my room and they've been in there the whole life. And I don't know if they're listening to the music, whether they're listening to the content. But you know what? If you're a person and even if you're hanging out in the lobby and you don't even come into the live, listen. If you can get hope and you get brave, or you don't even have to be brave. I mean, maybe it just triggers something in you to gives you hope for your future. So just keep coming back. Um, and all of us in our own time.
For sure, for sure. I think what you're doing is fabulous, and I see the people that are going there and they're opening up and they're sharing their experience. And I know that there's people that are still struggling with that, and you're giving them that glimmer of hope. Let's see. I missed some of the comments here. Liz, you just did the hardest thing ever. This is the
You
first time
did.
I ever said that out loud.
You did.
And again, I don't want to put the like. This is not about me.
I
This is not about
I,
me. But I appreciate you guys. I just
I
I
want to
don't
I want to
know.
I want to acknowledge. I do want to acknowledge what she said because that was very brave of you. and that's hard. It's hard to
It's hard
admit.
to say that word out
It's hard to
loud.
say it out loud.
Yeah. And
We can say
especially
it.
when you're in the moment, you think, no, it's not. I just like to do it, but it's not. I'm not addicted
Yeah.
to that. But is it normal when I've spent, and I know that I've spent, for let's say 5 o'clock in the afternoon, breaking an all night, or 5 o'clock in the morning to chase, like, okay, I lost 200. All right, you know what? I'm going to deposit 200 more to chase that one. I've lost $1,500 in a night online.
Yeah.
I've lost $1,500 that I don't have, that I shouldn't be losing because there's bills that I need to pay. So it's freaking hard. It's really
It
hard.
is.
I deleted them. I deleted all the apps. I don't want to see them anymore. And I'm going to
Well,
find out.
because
Rush Fan and I spoke because Rush Fan, and he shared it once. That's the only reason why I'm mentioning him. And when he said it in his live, I felt, oh my God, there's somebody out here that can relate to me. And ever since then, we've been talking about it.
you took your first step. You know,
I
you
don't
took
want
it.
to fall in that because I've seen people lose their entire home, lose their
Yeah.
family, and I don't
Yeah.
want to be that person. I really don't. Thank you
And
guys for saying that. Okay, so my goodness, this took a whole tangent right now. Um, what is something that you need to still hear on tough days, and who do you turn to? So who's that person? Oh wow, so there's other people here opening up about that too. Wow. Who do you turn to? Who's your first person? Who's your rock?
I think we shared that. And that's always going to be my wife. My second person is my. Yeah, I guess I don't. I shouldn't rank people, but my youngest daughter's been great support for me. And if I'm having a tough day and I can't reach out to my wife, I'll call my youngest daughter. She's got a great listening ear. She supports me. She'll come. She'll drop everything she's doing to support me because I have tough days. I mean, when I got the news about the whole works thing, uh, uh, you know, and then I had. I'm going to go ahead and so I worked two jobs up until just this last month, and I actually got fired from my first job, and I'm 65 years old. So I got fired from my second job that I worked graveyards on the weekend, and it really kind of shocked me. And I still don't think the reason they gave me was the reason they let me go. I think there was some other things going on that I had stirred the pot. I had probably said some things I shouldn't have said, and kind of pushed back against people, and I shouldn't have did that. So, but I remember the first thing I did is I was on my way home because they waited till I got to work for my shift and then told me, didn't call me,
Who do you
nothing.
have the balls to tell you in your face?
Yeah, just kind of like an ambush. So, but I
Damn.
can tell you the first thing I did is I called my daughter on the way home, and by the time I got to my house, within 5 minutes, she was at my doorstep there to support me. What can I do? What can I do to help you, Dad? You know, and just that, and that's the type of support I have in my core group. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. Um, that's awesome. It's really good to have support. To be honest with you, guys, I'm confessing this, and my husband has no clue. He has no clue because if he had a clue, he would be not very happy with me. So that's why I feel like I need to like just cut, cut it right now, and I think when I'm ready, I will tell him. I will.
you will.
Because if
You
I
will.
tell him now, obviously it's still too soon, and he's going to be very, very upset. So, I think when I'm ready, I will confess, that
Yeah.
part of me. But
Yeah.
anyway, so um, if you could go back and say one thing to your past self before recovery, what would that be?
Oh man,
That's a tough one, I know. What would you
that
say
is
to
tough.
your
I
past
I
self?
I think I would if I could say something to my older self, saying something to my younger self. You think, don't worry about impressing everybody. You don't have to impress everybody. What people think of you, they're going to think regardless. And what a person thinks of you doesn't define who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It makes absolutely no difference to your character. And I worried so much about what people thought of me. I mean, to the point I didn't used to be comfortable. What I can remember when I first started drinking alcohol, I thought I found the miracle thing because it made me like Mr. Popular. It made me. It took away my uncomfortability around people. I became the life of the party, and I thought it was a great thing. And I think I would just go back and tell myself, don't worry so much about what other people think. You know, um,
Yeah.
life life will treat you well if you don't worry about and you don't make your life about what other people think. So
Nelson says it doesn't matter what people think of you; it's what you think of yourself. That is
yeah,
very, very powerful words right there.
I had pretty low self esteem
Yeah.
most of my life, and it's just been probably in the last few years that I mean, it's been a journey, but I don't. I guess in a way I still struggle because I'm still uncomfortable sometimes with a compliment. I always think if they only really knew me, you know.
We are a lot of us are. I include myself there. Our own worst critic.
Yeah.
You're an amazing human being. I really, ever since, I mean, I like I said, I met you in Ruby's room. You are a true supporter of Ruby, and now I see you go live. I'm so proud of you that you're doing this and you're advocating because a lot of people, and then look, I mean, we have addiction comes in all different shapes or forms, and even if I don't have the same type of addiction that you have, but it's an addiction, right? So each
Yeah.
person reaches out to something, whatever it makes them feel to I guess numb the pain. I guess that's what I want to say. Um, so I
Exactly, Joey. I saw Joey said if we want self esteem, we must do esteemable things. And that's true. That's
love
true.
that. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful right there. A beautiful comment.
That's true. We've got to have strength of character. We got to stick to it, and what we do when people aren't looking, that determines our character. If we base everything on we do and live our lives by what only doing it when other people are looking, that don't work. You know.
You're
Uh,
right about that. You're 100% right about that. A couple other questions because I know that we're pressed for time. You have 20 minutes. So, um, do you have a go-to song on hard days? Is there something that I know that you have your wife and your kids and stuff, but is there like a song or something? Maybe it's a verse, maybe it's something that keeps you, strong.
I don't know if it's a verse. I have some music I like. I love Pink Floyd.
Right.
Uh,
What's a song that, let's put it this way. What's a song that you listen to that you're like, like Ruby has her song, the Rise with
yeah,
Purpose.
I
She
love
has it
her.
for a
I
long
love
time.
her.
You haven't
I
played that
love her.
song, Ruby. I don't know what happened to that, but
I
do you
love
have a
her
song?
song. I love her song. That
Right?
song is
She
so
hasn't played in a long time. The song that Emily did. I don't know what happened to that.
I don't. For some reason, the other day I was on my Spotify and that came up. I don't know why that came up. It wasn't. I don't know if it was. I don't know how it came up, but all of a sudden that was playing on my Spotify.
You have not played that song in a long time. I mean, I haven't been there that I've heard you play that song. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful song. So, and it, like I said, it doesn't have to be.
I have artists I listen to. I like a lot of Jelly Roll stuff. And I like that because he talks about addiction and he talks about struggles. And he's a person that still he doesn't live a perfect life. And I think that's what I like is that he's not going out there and saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm perfect." He's just striving to be a better version of himself, and he writes about that and he sings about that. So,
Amen to that. Amen. Favorite comfort food? I don't know why
well,
ChatGPT asked that question, but favorite
Ruby's
comfort food. Welcome in.
Ruby's gonna love this. I love me some potatoes.
Oh, I
So
thought you were going to say the nerdy butter. Okay,
no,
I love
no,
this.
I have not tried the nerdy butter, but I love potatoes. I almost every morning I have fried potatoes. I eat a lot of potatoes, so that's probably my favorite go-to food, man. And
Well,
it's
if you haven't started the nerdy butter, man, just make sure that you save a lot of cash because, man,
I
once you get hooked on that, that is my new
well,
food.
that's my thinking. I watch it and I think if I start getting that stuff, I'll go broke. You know, I know how I am with the sweet tooth, and me and my wife, if we both can have a sweet tooth, I'll be in trouble.
We've plowed down 7 jars within the last month.
Oh
Seven
man,
jars, okay? I
yeah,
literally got 4 jars less than a week ago. They're gone. I mean, not only me, it's my daughter. She took hold of the cotton candy one. My husband took care of the monster one. I didn't even get to try the damn Oreo one. And I was like, they left me with the two least favorite. I'm like, okay, I'm the one who's buying them, and you're the one
yeah,
who's my favorite. So now, see, so I'm just going to hide them from him. But okay, so potatoes. Look, that's comfort food, right? So that for you is
yeah.
like
It's
home comfort.
comfort food, and I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
my daughter is if she was on here, she would flat told you, yeah, he likes potatoes, because she'll call me in the morning. What'd you have? And I say hash browns or fried potatoes. You know, I that's my go-to food. Uh, this always has been. So
Um, what's one daily ritual that helps you reset?
um, so it's something fairly new. I've done I started doing in the last year, and that's I do a gratitude. I give thanks at the end of the day. I don't do a list per se, like write it down, but I sit down at the end of the day when it's quiet and I think about my day. And sometimes when I first started doing this, some days were tough and I would think, well, I don't have anything to be thankful for. But the more I've done it, the more I found I have to be thankful for. There's Joey the other day was talking about in his room. You know, someone says they had a bad day. Really? Was the whole day bad? The whole 24 hours? Or was it just a moment? You know? And I find that when I give gratitude, there's always stuff to be grateful for. You can be grateful for those small moments with your wife, those small moments in the day when you got to have a great interaction with somebody. And
Absolutely.
that's made
Absolutely.
a difference on how my next day starts.
Yeah.
So I'm not carrying over stuff from the day before by giving thanks for the good things that happened that day. And we all have good things that happen. We may have to look for it, and you may have to start out with the smallest of things. That if you do, you can find something to be thankful for. You know, um,
Junk food junkie says the good stuff isn't found in alcohol, but in the shared experiences and love with loved ones and friends.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Gratitude changes everything, says Flinger.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it changes our heart. And
Absolutely. We do have to be grateful. You know, sometimes we do focus on the thanks,
no,
Elena, for the gift.
thank
Um,
you.
what is that? The Rocky bean. Um, well, I lost my train of thought. You know, sometimes we focus only like on the negative thing, and I think I was talking on one of those mind traps where the 10 things or 9 things could be perfect in your life, but you're going to focus on hone in on that one thing that's negative, and then you put the focus on that. We need to look at the bigger picture and be thankful, right? Like Ruby says, be thankful for every day that you open your eyes, right? Because a lot of people don't get to do that, right? So I think you're doing wonderful. What's a quote or mantra that you live by now? If you have one, share it. If I mean, I don't know if there's a quote or mantra that you live by.
I don't know if there's a quote or a mantra, but I just, um, I just know things. If it's something I kind of keep in mind. Uh, Things will change, you know. I something I taught my kids about when they were young. I don't know why it's always been on my mind, but I've always been aware that people think about unaliving themselves. I've had those thoughts my whole life, And I think the thing is I've expanded that uh, give it 10 minutes because the view screen will change, man. Anything what we're thinking about changes and shifts so often. If you wait on anything, whether it's that or other things, things will change. If you as long as you don't. Some people get racing thoughts and they have a hard time getting out of that cycle. But I think if you remember, the view screen changes. Whatever was absolutely taking your attention and was intense, if give it a few minutes, breathe, and it will change. Our focus will change, and I kind of live by that. I don't have to. I guess it would go to this. So if I think it's a problem, I don't have to address it right now. If it's still a problem tomorrow, maybe I need to address it. But a lot of things that we think are a problem aren't. I don't know if you guys can hear my grandson. He is absolutely
That's okay. That's okay.
yeah.
And you know that when I put it on YouTube, obviously I'm gonna edit it. So I
Yeah.
don't know if I could drown the noise in the back, so I
I
may
don't
have
know.
to cut
I
that
don't think
part.
you can drown him out right now. He's
I
upset.
don't know about that part, but
Yeah, that's
it's for the
okay.
most part he was good. And if,
Yeah,
listen, if somebody doesn't like it, he
yeah,
has grandkids. It is what it
yeah.
is. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
Okay. As long as it's
Uh,
not bothering you guys.
Flinger says Flinger says meetings give me good perspective too. There's so many people that have it worse than me.
Yeah,
Do you still go to meetings or not at this point? Because you've been sober for 20 years, right?
I
Welcome, Sugar Pop.
I I am not a person that does meetings.
Okay,
I haven't done meetings in quite a few years.
okay.
Um, I think the last meeting I went with somebody else that has struggling with getting the I don't know how I put it, being brave enough to go to a meeting. So I said I'll go to a meeting with you, and that was the last meeting I went to. But it works for some people. Some people, that's how they give back. That's how they pay it forward. That's how they stay clean. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not my recovery road. I've done
Everybody
meetings.
has a different road to recovery,
Yeah,
right? So for
I've done
me,
the meetings, and they served their purpose at one point, but
right,
they don't serve a purpose for me anymore. So
right. And then, anybody have any questions? Because the last thing I have here is a very strong statement. Addiction doesn't define you, but recovery does.
true,
Words
true.
to live by for sure. 20 years strong, Cecil. 20 years strong, and there's going to be 20 more years to go or more. Because if you're 65, you still got more than 20 years to go. You are a rock. You're resilient. Obviously, you bounced back from that dark place, and now you're advocating here. And there's a lot of people that really need to hear you. So I do hope that your channel grows exponentially, and you are around the says thank you, Flinger, thank you for both great live. Yeah, so I do these every Wednesday. I would love to get, I don't know if Jomo is still here. I would definitely love to get you as well if you want to share your story and your journey. I will feel honored. I do these every Wednesday, but uh, you're doing something really, and it's funny because when you got on this app, the last thing you thought of was to do that, right? To That you were going to be doing this.
Yeah,
We have 7 minutes, and I did promise you that we're going to talk about your TikTok shop. So here's the opportunity for you to put your shameless plugs, promote yourself. What are you promoting on a TikTok shop? Talk to me. Talk to
you know
me.
what? I at this point, you know what? If you're looking for something, uh, glance in there, see if there's something that interests you. Great if you want to pick
Have you
something.
been going live, do like promoting the products, or you like TikTok shop live?
I haven't done lives yet. I know I need to because when you can only do 5 videos a week, I'm not making a lot of sales. Most of the sales I'm making are to myself or my family buying
Oh,
buying.
that's how I started too. You
You know,
just gotta. I mean, look at Ruby. Ruby does it,
Yeah.
and she's doing well.
Well, she,
you know that I started TikTok Shop way before Ruby started, and I have not even because I gave up. Like
well,
everything, I'm always like I am too quick to jump and say, you know, this is not working. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. But Ruby was like, no, I'm gonna stick it through. You know?
she's inspired. She's inspired me to go live because I watched her do her lives, and I thought, well, I can do that. It's just I've always had, and it's something I know of my character. I have a fear base, and I sometimes I'll sit in the crap for a long time before I make change because I have this innate fear of change, and I have to know it about myself, and I have to step through it. And there's no reason to be fearful. I'm already doing the other lives. It's just something new, you know. Anytime it's something new, uh, there's just that innate fear, you know, and
He brought
I'll
up a
step
good point right there.
I'll step through it. You know, I'll step through it and I'll start doing them. And I think that on it, it's kind of like I follow some other guys on here that are big into the TikTok shop, and they'll flat tell you doing lives when you're in the TikTok shop is the gasoline for the fire. That will drive your other sales, and so I know I need to do that if I want to be successful. And you'll see me within the next week or two, starting to
Yeah.
do.
Don't do like me. Don't quit right away. Don't be impatient. Telling you this because that's who I am, and I need to just take
I don't give
relax.
up. I don't give up very easily. That's something I know about myself. I'll stick to it through thick and thin for a long time before I give something up. So
Yeah. Junk Food Junkie brought up a good point. I don't know if you remember several weeks ago, I did interview Shanna, who is Rush fan's wife. And so Junk Food says, Liz tells Cecil to go watch Rush's wife's podcast on my YouTube channel because she does talk a lot about the TikTok shop. She talks about the
okay,
strategies and stuff like that. So, and I'm sure Ruby, of course, could give you some tips too because you
yeah,
are
yeah. I'm
this
a
way,
member
right?
of some other groups too. I joined another group called Wealth Builders, and they're pretty good support. I haven't used them as much as some people are. You know, I've got to make that connection, and I don't feel a connection with them yet. So, but I don't give up easily. So
Good. I'm glad because you know what? And it shows, right? 20 years. I mean, that's a long time. You know, there's
yeah.
a long time that I'm sure there were days within those 20 years that you
Oh,
probably weren't easy.
there's been days. There was days early on that it was minute by minute, man. It just was minute by minute. Uh, I I'm fortunate that I made it through without relapsing again. You know, I'm very fortunate. Not everybody is. So
Absolutely. I guess any final words, any final questions, guys, and what do you want to leave us with? A powerful end statement to all of us here.
um, just to remember, you if you want to make a change in your life, you can. And this is going to sound probably, I don't know, a little weird, but I mean, my family, you know, when I say it, but remember, God's got you, man. He's in your corner, and if you open your heart to that, He can change anything. So uh, he or she.
Miriam says, "Thank you for being vulnerable. Strong. That is strong with us."
Thank you,
And
Mary.
Jomo says, "Love you, Cecil. You are an asset to this community." Amen. I too
Thank you,
totally believe
Joey.
that too. I totally believe that. You know, you and Jomo and Tony. I don't know. Maybe you guys should kind of like form a time some type of community. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you already do, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know. I don't know if Joey and I don't know if they know each other, man.
Jomo and Tony.
Yeah, I don't know if they know each other. I know them both. They're both friends of mine, but I don't know if they know each other.
So
So
Jomo, Tony Mandarich, former NFL player, he was one of my guests that I interviewed. I think it was last week actually. He goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
he's
and
got a great life.
he has an amazing live. You definitely he talks about recovery and all that stuff too. So I just think that you guys, it's just the more and the power in the numbers. You know, you guys, it's amazing what you guys are doing. for sure. So
Well, thank
I
you.
guess with that said, so Jomo goes live at 10 p.m. Right, which reminds me. So 10 p.m. is that what is that? Jomo goes live at 10 p.m. Is that Eastern time or well, I'm on the East Coast, by the way.
Jomo goes 10 p.m. Eastern time.
And then last but not least, because I know literally you're 1 minute away, you got to go. What times and what days do you go live so that everyone can find you? Cecil.
So I go to live at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes a little earlier, but so that's 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time.
Okay. So you said it was what time? Sorry, you said 10 o'clock.
It would be midnight Eastern
Oh,
Standard.
midnight Eastern Standard. And you're there for a while because I've caught you live. Like I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night.
Well, I try to always go for at least an hour. And if there's more people in the room, I'm trying to hang out a little longer. When you first start going live, it's pretty exhausting talking. You know, talking.
Hey, I have, yeah, I don't know how Ruby does freaking 5 hours. I don't
I
understand
have
how
no
she's
idea.
doing.
I'd be wore down. I'd be wore down to the nubbins at 5 hours. So Joey does a long live too, man. So
Oh, so I definitely, I went into your live once,
I
Jomo. I
usually go
definitely
to
want
Joey's.
to connect with you.
Like Joey said in there, I'll finish my live and then I'll usually go hang out with them for a half hour. So
Let's connect. I don't know if you're interested. I would love to hear your story as well. Definitely, I think I follow you already because I already went into your live once. But Cecil, you're doing amazing. Are you going live tonight, midnight then?
I will be, yes.
Okay, so guys, please, if I'm sure that everyone in this room is already following Cecil, please give him a follow. Please support his channel, support his purpose. He goes live every night, 7 days a week, or is it?
Yeah, so far I've been doing 7 days a week. So I once in a while I'll miss one because I'm not going to. If I'm not in a good place or I've got something else going on, I'm not going to force it. But
Right.
I think I've only missed one or 2 days in the last 2 weeks. So
Okay, so there you could go find him midnight. So midnight Eastern time, guys. Make sure that you give him
thank
a
you,
follow.
Elena.
And turn on your notification bell because he's amazing, guys. I've been in a couple of lives and he's just very amazing. I am so honored to be your friend that you accepted this interview because I think a lot of people here needed to hear what you said, including myself. Including myself.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
thank you so much. I love you, Cecil.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Genuinely love you. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you guys.
God best pay it forward, and then the YouTube which should be up. I'm literally posting today from the last 2 weeks, so yours should be up. What's today's Wednesday by the end of this week.
Okay, sounds great.
Love you guys.
Take care,
I'll see you
guys.
guys in the TikTok streets. Have a great day, everyone.